Hey guys, still here. Welcome back to Stormworks. In the end of the previous episode, I was building a vehicle that was capable of towing a train car, but that was going to be a long mission, and I just don't have the parts that I need. So instead, I decided to go with another mission. What we're currently tasked with is rescuing a few divers. Now the divers are trapped in a cave, and fortunately they're pretty close, but still I want to get there quickly, so I'm going to take out the hydrofoil ice dart. I have made a couple of adjustments to this boat. Initially there was a spotlight on the bow over here, but that was obstructing my view. So I have relocated the spotlight and added another one to be in a sort of overhead beam to make sure that from over there I can still see what is going on. I lowered the seat a notch to make sure that I have a better view of my instrument panel and buttons. I have the toggle button for the spotlight over here, but also a swivel button or a throttle button so I can swivel these things up and down. Aside from that, I installed a winch on the stern, making sure that I'm going to be able to recover the boat that these guys come from. And the reason that I picked this mission over the other mission is that it's easier, and since Stormworks has gotten a lot more generous with the way that it gets you research points, this is going to be a very fast and easy way to get a couple more research points. And with those research points, I can then finally get to working on helicopters. That's the plan anyway. Alright, unfortunately, I guess in my zest to remodel, I also took off the button which enabled the hydrofoil. Fortunately, that's not that bad, because the port's over there, that's where the boat needs to go. The outpost is over there, that's where the divers need to go. And over here, we already have the position for both the boat and the divers. It's 2 research divers who've become trapped. Now speed, 48 kilometers per hour. That is, for this boat, pretty slow. And that's due to me forgetting the hydrofoil button. Again, Stormworks is such a complex game that you are going to forget something. One way or another, you're going to forget something. And this time around, it turned out to be the hydrofoil button. But at this point I have accepted that when you're playing Stormworks you're always going to be missing out on something. There's always going to be this one thing that you think, ah, right, I should have done that. Yeah, maybe I should have hooked up my rudder. Oh, crap, the engine won't start. I might not have set up the throttle to my engine. There is always something. And that keeps the game interesting. Now, the way that Stormworks has been getting a lot more generous with research points, I think is a very, very good development. Because I was starting a new campaign game, just to try out some new tactics. And I found that all of a sudden I got 6 research points for one easy transport mission. I was very surprised. Stormworks getting a lot more generous with these research points means that you unlock stuff faster. And unlocking stuff faster means you get more rewards, or at least you feel more rewarded in the way that you play the game. So I'm very, very happy that they decided to go ahead and give you more research points. They did nerf the amount of cash that you're getting, however, so you need to be careful with your craft, make sure you don't lose those, as opposed to what I've been doing so far. Make sure you don't lose your crafts, because replacing them is going to be slightly trickier, since you have to buy all the new parts again. Alright, we are coming up on the cave. Are you guys really just sitting in that... what is that? That overhead area? I wouldn't exactly call that a cave. It's more like a big tunnel of sorts. Alright, let's take it real slow. I don't want to be pushing it too aggressively, because this is ice after all. Let's lower the throttle a little bit. Turn on the spotlights. We're coming in with 20 kph. Okay, this thing is movable. There they are. Get out of the way. I got places to be. Come on. Alright, you know what? I'll just park it here for a second. and go get these gentlemen. Who might be getting hypothermia. Come on. Yeah, they're definitely not feeling too warm. Get over here. One thing that I really hope that these guys are also going to fix, by these guys I mean the devs, is the way that NPCs climb ladders. Because that, oh my god, that's something that they just don't really know how to do. NPCs are so notoriously bad at climbing ladders that I have just resorted to manually going and picking them up every time that they need picking up. Ah, so this is their rib. Okay, I can work with that. Let's see, where's your connector? On the front, I hope. Yep. Looks like they got a winch up front. Let's gently boop this thing out of the way. Oh, it's a mag all, actually. It's not just a connector. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. This will do. Kill the engine. Yep, they got a mag all on there. And a connector. Right there on the bow. Good. Let's make sure that this thing is active. Then we're gonna enable the own connector, extend the wire a little bit. Oh god, I didn't put the speed up on the winch. That's gonna take a bit of time before that thing is extended. Alright, you there. Come with me. You can sort of drag this thing with you. Now another very good change is the way that they made sure that cables, wires, winches, whatever you want to call them, they float. And that makes your life so much easier, because it means that the winch connector does not really have a lot of ways to go. Whereas previously that thing could be very, very deep underwater, so much so that you might even need scuba gear in order to go and collect it. But fortunately, that's no longer a thing. Now, I'm going to have to go into the bay first. The rib's not that important, it's just a piece of machinery. But these divers are not doing so well. So I need to get the divers back to base first. And then we'll just gently tow that thing back to the base over there. The fact that I'm forgetting my hydrofoils, oh, that could have been so handy on this mission. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going 30 kph, but I have another ship on another save that is just so much faster. That thing can do 60 kph. And sure, it consumes a bit of fuel, but overall it is just, it's a dream to sail around. It's based on the CB-90, the STRB-90 combat boat. Alright, looks like we might have some slightly dangerous terrain here underwater. Let's try not to snag any of the hydrofoils on that. $600 meters. 580. Not sure if I can get up there. Still, let's throttle down. Let's go get our divers. I want you to follow, I want you to pick up. We're gonna go on a run again. Please tell me you can follow that. Oh, you're not particularly bright, are you? I know he's a diver, but you're not supposed to be stuck underneath my boat. You following, yeah? Good. Let's go. See, stuff like this, again, it would have been perfect with a helicopter. Fly in, get the divers, make sure you get them in a seat, fly over to the research base, and either then go back for the rib, or just try and lift it up if you have a mag-all or something like that. So once again, to the outpost. Alternatively, we could have done this maybe with a car. But I don't think that we could have gotten all the way out to the rib and found a way to get that thing back on. Unfortunately. Because I kind of like the land vehicles. And I hope that they do more with them. Because at the moment, I think they're kind of missing an opportunity there. They gave us trains, they gave us wheels, they gave us suspensions, they even gave us tracks. But so far, you don't really need a land vehicle much. I mean, yeah, sure, except for these situations. But in these situations, I think a helicopter would come in more handy. So, wheels, tracks, we need a bigger application for them. We need more stuff to do with them. Alright, another thing you need to know about how missions are rewarded is that you get a rating of either 1, 2, or 3 stars. And from what I've seen on the patch notes, those stars, the more stars you get, the more rewards you get. It scales with the amount of research points that you get. So this means that completing a mission with 1 star is definitely no longer as rewarding as it is with 3 stars. Whereas previously, the stars I think were just a sort of a vanity item. They didn't actually give you any sort of positive or negative reward. And most people just said, yeah, well, screw it, I'm going to do that particular part of a mission. I mean, I've done it. I have, in a previous episode, had to get a couple of guys from a fire. I was able to get the guys out of the fire, but I was not able to put the fire out. And yet, the game still gave me the full reward. So, items like that, or situations like that, no longer happen. Don't get the full mission complete, don't get the full rewards. And despite that, even not getting the full rewards, especially research points wise, is definitely still more lucrative now than it was back then. Because in the past, I think 9 episodes, I have gotten pretty shitty rewards. I mean, you get 1, 2, or 3 research points, sometimes 4 if you get lucky. I think that we might get 5 or 6 just for this mission alone. Alright, now we need to get that rib back to base. It's 900 meters, but that is in a straight line, and that's unfortunately not quite possible. But still, it shouldn't take us too long to get there. You can see that the hydrofoil is definitely, well, quite burdened under the weight. Because it's not exactly as fast as it once was at 47 kph. Let's see, can I traverse this area without crashing into anything? I think I should be able to. Because I'm looking at this, this, and that. Yeah, we'll be fine. Still, this thing really needs to get faster. I only got 2 props on there for 2 engines. RPS is fairly low at this point. Yeah. I might need to rework this gearbox. But hopefully, soon we won't even need a boat. We'll just have a helicopter. Alright, we're at the base. 200 meters out. Pretty easy. Get there, cast off the tow line, and go back home. Get some more research points. I think we're going to be getting somewhere between 4 to 6 from this mission. Slow down a bit. How close do you want me to get that thing? Maybe a little bit more, because I cannot really get too much closer with this boat. There we go. Holy shit, 12 research points? Look at that. That's the type of rewards that I'm looking for. Damn. That's a lot of research points. Now, with 18 research points in the bank, I'm immediately going to go for helicopters. Begin research. We can get our helicopter going. Incredible. 12 research points, just like that. Alright, throttle to full. Start the engine. Please tell me my reverse gear is working. Yeah, I don't think it's working. Okay. Okay. In that case, we'll just need to manhandle this thing out of the way. Turn it, turn it, turn it. There you go. No, I don't want to be in the bed. I want to be in the pilot seat. Throttle full. Engine start. Oh shit, my hydrofoils are snagging on the low terrain here. Okay, we're good. We're good. But damn, those hydrofoils need to work. Right now, they seem to only be slowing me down instead of making me faster. Alright, let me take this thing back to base. Alright, we're back at base, and I have helicopters all researched. Now there is a new mission that came up. There is a search for a swimmer. A lone swimmer has been spotted clinging onto a chunk of ice in a lake on the Arctic mainland. He is unlikely to survive for very long with no thermal protection and is too fatigued to swim back to shore. Search the lake for him before the cold overcomes him. Excellent mission to get a helicopter going. Now, initially, of course, the designer or the workbench is going to try to spawn in whatever you have in your workshop. So I'm now trying to spawn in the ice dart ashore. That's not quite going to work. So instead, we are finally going to be building a helicopter. One thing you need to know about me and helicopters, we do get along. We do get along quite alright. But I am by no means a designer. A helicopter for me is purely a work of, well, let's say a piece of machinery. And aside from that, it doesn't really need to look any sort of beautiful or whatsoever. Especially this first helicopter, I'm going to go with a very, very basic setup. This is going to be my cabin. Or my helicopter, I don't know what you want to call that. Control, I guess? Cockpit? I might not even have windows and doors on it. I mean, I have windows, but I don't have any doors whatsoever. So that is something that I hope to unlock very quickly. Now, the plan over here is to have the engines in the back. I'm going to go for 2 standard engines. So let's make sure that these guys won't be bothered with that. That goes up, that goes over here, and this is going to be the roof of the helo. I don't intend to stand in my helicopter, because who does? Well, okay, if it's a Chinook, you might be able to. But that is something that I simply don't have the right equipment for yet. Now, let's see. How do you design a helicopter? I usually start out with some basic idea of what it's going to look like. I think, by the way, that this is a bit too low. If I do it like this, there's a very good chance that my character's head is going to be sticking out the top of the helicopter. Let's not risk that, because there shall be rotor blades up there. And rotor blades and heads, or any other part of body part, is usually not a great combination. So this might be a little better. Okay. I want this thing to also have a couple of floats on it, to make sure that I can land on or close to that lake. And thankfully floats, if I'm not mistaken, there they are. Floats are things that are unlocked by default when you get the helicopters. So with a couple of floats, that is, if your helicopter is not too big, you can land on water. And if your helicopter is too big, you're going to find that the helicopter is very quickly going to flip over and just sink. Because that's something else that they want to do. And that they're really quite eager to do. Now I haven't had any experience with building a helicopter when since new patch hit. So this means that seeing how effective I'm going to be at building helicopters with the new fuel consumption, well, we're about to see that right now. Alright, let's set up radiators. This, by the way, is not a how to build your helicopter tutorial. That is definitely not the aim of this video. The aim of this video is to just finally get a helicopter going. I believe I have a tutorial on my channel on how to build a helicopter. So that should get you along if you want to be going out on your own and building your own helo. That's the air intake. I want a straight pipe over here and another one over there. A pipe here. And these should not be pipes, but ports. There, I already have the most basic setup for my helicopter. The only thing that I still need is fuel. And of course, I need to output the power somewhere. Let's see. If I go with the fuel tanks on top of the engines, what could possibly go wrong? Then I can have these things tied together, these things tied together, go for the gearbox up, and place the rotor blades. That's the plan. So, rotor blades. Large rotor. I usually try to place this thing somewhere over the center of... well, not really the center of mass, but something close to it. One of the shitty things about helicopters is that the connector for power is on the front. So you need to loop it underneath, otherwise it won't quite work. So this section over here is going to be just standard piping. So that's an angled pipe that comes out from here, goes down, loops back around, then gets put through the passenger compartment, and then goes over here. Yeah, point it at the engines, and then we're going to pipe these things together. One here, one here, one like this. No, all the way around. There you go. And another pipe here and there. And finally, connect it all together. There. Now, if I now enable my engines, the rotor will start spinning. There is, however, another part that is going to require power. And that's my tail rotor. So I need to make sure that I have a bit of room to get the tail rotor also a bit of power. Otherwise, it just won't work. The helicopter will spin out of control. Let's also join these things together. And join this thing together. I don't exactly have custom fuel tanks yet, which would make my life a hell of a lot easier. Let's see, if I go for a couple of standard, no, not small, but medium tanks here, can I fit that? I can. I'm going to have them slightly further off to the side. Like that. Then pipe these things together. I have no idea about the endurance of this particular helicopter yet. So that is definitely an experiment to see how long this thing can actually fly. How long can it stay airborne? And as you can imagine, this thing is also not exactly designed for water landings. I mean, sure, it might be able to do it, but it is not a submarine. You don't want to submerge this thing and see how far it can go down. You'll learn that helicopters and water don't go together very well. Let's go for an angled pipe here so I can close this section off. Oh, and there is one more slight change that I need to make over here. I need a generator. Yeah, here I guess. Just a small generator to recharge the battery. And one small battery down here so I can start up the whole system. Alright, back to mirror mode. There. That is the drive section of the helicopter. Next is the tail rotor, which is really a basic system. Just make sure you have a bit of length and add a tail rotor. And I believe the tail rotor should be spinning in that direction. Otherwise the game won't really like it. One's enough. There. Like I said, I'm more of an engineer in this game than I am a designer. And that's why this thing looks not so pretty. To say it mildly. I can always beautify this later, but I first need to get that swimmer. If I get the swimmer, I can then get a few more research points. And with more research points, I can make sure that I actually get this helicopter and clean it up a little. We're also going to need is a gyro. This is very important. The gyro is basically the brain of the helicopter and allows you to stay airborne. Let's see. We can get in here. We can fly it if I have a cockpit, which currently I do not have yet. So let's get to work on that. So we can clean up the act a little over here. Another one over here. I hope that these things are not too close together. I think they might be. And so close that I cannot actually get to the passenger compartment. Okay. Next section. The front. This is always where I start to struggle. Because this is always where I wonder, what exactly does a helo look like up front? How do you build one of those things? So this is going to be a very, a very ugly helicopter. I can guarantee you that much. Let's see. No, the nose is already too long. Because I still need to be able to look out of the thing. It's kind of important if you're flying in a helicopter. You need to see what's going out, or what's going on outside. Things are starting to take shape. What's up? Windows, that's next. Could I fit a couple of windows over here? I think so. The trick is usually just to get the windows in first and then your instrument panels later. That so far has worked quite well for me. Let's go with one down the middle. The one place where I haven't placed a block yet. And then a couple of the narrow angled windows. And then we can go with a couple of corner windows. Give it some room. This thing is a little too wide. I don't need all that space. Okay, I guess we're getting somewhere. Doesn't look like much, but it's a helicopter. The next big question is, will it fly? That is always something that you have to repeatedly test. Will it actually fly? If it doesn't, then it's back to the drawing board. If it does, great. Don't do anything about it. Make sure it just stays that way. I don't really like the way that this is looking. Surely we can clean that up a little bit more. See, you started with the basic shape. And then you start to work towards something that resembles a helicopter. And you just clean it up in the process. Alright, those beams are going to be very much in the way. I do want that thing there, but these, not so much. Now, I don't have all the instruments yet. So I'm going to be using, I believe it's called VFR. Visual flight rules. You need to know where you're going. That's basically it. You need to know what you're doing, you need to know where you're going. What I can do is set up a couple of displays, one of which is going to tell me the speed of the helicopter. So that's going to require a speed sensor, and that's going to be looking that way. One's going to be looking down, because I need to know how fast I'm going up or down. This is a speed converter, like the one that I have on my boat. So this is speed in kph. Next is a dial. With the dial, I want to see how fast I'm ascending or descending. So this goes to the linear speed sensor. And this is going to be a vertical. This thing will go from, I think, minus 10 to 10. Let's say climb rate. And then it's time to set up the most important aspects. Control. Making sure that this thing can actually lift off. Need a push button to start up the whole system. So this push button goes to those. The throttle goes to these two. And then it's going to be time to set up all of these surfaces. I'm going to make sure that this thing is always on auto hover. When I am in the seat, that thing triggers. Now I have a couple of buttons over here. You have stabilized gyro as an output, stabilized up-down output, stabilized roll output, and stabilized yaw output. You just connect these to the basic items on your helicopter. So basic yaw goes over there. Just need to make sure that this thing is set as a positive blade, otherwise it won't actually do anything. This thing though needs to be as a neutral, otherwise you're always going to be generating lift, and sometimes I don't want that. So stabilized up-down goes to the collective. The collective is the pitch of the rotor blade, so are you generating lift or not? Roll goes over here. And we still have one left, and that is stabilized pitch, and that goes there. So now for the controls. A and D, I want that to be roll. W and S is going to be pitch. Left and right is going to be the yaw. And up and down is going to be up and down. Those are the basic controls of the helicopter. That should do. Of course, I still have a couple of dials that I need to install because I need to know how my fuel is doing. I need to know how my engines are doing. So this is going to be RPS 1, RPS 2, minimum is 0, maximum is 25, 0 and 25, and this is fuel. I have 177, I think I'm going to have 350 fuel total. It's not a lot. But it's a very tiny local area helicopter. Now this is a microcontroller that I usually use just to add up 2 fuel tanks and output how much there is in those fuel tanks combined. So this thing goes to the front there. Alright, power systems. Something else that I want, before I forget it, if I sit down, I want to have all these instrument panels come on. Just the backlights. Gyro, gearbox, Oh, right, the gearbox. That's something I need to set up. How am I going to set that up? Let's just experiment with it a little bit. What I have found to work on boats pretty well is to go with a 9:5 ratio. So that means that the engines are making 5 rotations and the helicopter, or rather the props, 9. Now just a couple of lights on them and I think we're good to go. Clean this up a little bit. And of course, you can make this thing as beautiful or as ugly as possible, depending on how much time you have and how much time you want to invest in it. I generally don't care too much for looks. I just want the thing to be able to fly and make sure that I can get the mission done. Those are my main concerns for a helicopter. Or, well, any craft, basically. Because that is what I care about, completing the objective. Okay, does that do everything? Almost. Because what I don't yet have on here are a button for the lights. Where do I fit that? I can fit that in the roof. So toggle. This is going to be the lights. And that toggles this one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Make sure all of these things get power. So that's the light up there. Oh, right, that was my lights button. I was wondering, what the hell am I just connecting? The light here, the light there, the light in the back, and 2 lights in the front. Okay, so that should work with the lights. I am also going to try and have a spotlight on here, because I'm not sure if I'm able to be finding that diver immediately. Or swimmer, rather. I'm not looking for a diver, I'm looking for a swimmer. And this one is going to go here. Whoop, there's a hole in my helicopter. Let's see, if I'm sitting here, they shouldn't be too far back. See, that can be the problem with a small helicopter like this. You run out of space for buttons. Yeah, that's a straight one. Let's go with a throttle. Hook these things up to power. Hook the spotlight up to power. And make sure that I can actually turn this thing on and off. And that I can control it. I need this to go from a minus to a positive. So -1 to 1. This is going to be the spotlight. Although, to be fair, I don't think I'm going to be pointing it completely up. Well, no, I might. If I'm in motion, I might. Okay, so this is the spotlight. Make sure everything has power. Check. Spotlight has power. Check. Okay. Now, I know that this is not quite what a little bird looks like, but I am going to call it the little bird. A small helicopter. All right. Throttle up. I didn't actually connect these things, apparently. RPS 1 goes to that engine, and this goes to the other engine. I did see that this kind of looks like shit. This is a little better. It's not perfect, but we'll clean it up later. Swimmer first. Save. Spawn. Fortunately, it is going to get light soon, which should help with the search. Alright. Spin it up. It looks like my tail rotor is a bit overexcited. The way that that thing is operating is not really how it should be. Should I set this thing to neutral then? Does that fix it? Because then the yaw control can indicate what way it needs to turn. Yeah, that's it. It doesn't need to be set to neutral. It needs to be set, or it needs to be set to neutral, not positive. Okay, we're flying. We have a positive climb rate now. Kind of. Maybe the sensor's looking the wrong way. Or the dial is. Alright, give me lights. Lights were up here. Check if the spotlight works. Yep, we're now pointing entirely up. Okay. How about the gear? I don't want this thing to have this much RPS, because that means I'm also going to be draining my fuel tank very quickly. Alright boys, we're flying. Took me a whole bunch of episodes, but I finally have a working helicopter. Does it look right? Kind of. But at least we're already traveling at 90 kilometers per hour. Okay. Swimmer, here we come. Rescue is on the way. I just hope that my helicopter isn't going to exhaust all of its fuel before it gets there. That would really ruin my day. Let's see if the helicopter still wants to fly at throttle this low. No, it does not. No, it really does not. It It really does not want to fly. Yeah, I'm just going to cheat my way back. Autosave. God, I'm not going to replace that or just try to bring it back to base. That's never going to work. Okay, so it flies. I just need to figure out how well it's going to fly. What sort of throttle it needs to actually stay airborne. So, we're going to get that swimmer, but we're going to be doing it next episode. For now, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me on this adventure for finally building a helicopter. It took me a while to get there, but with the increased research points, we should be getting a lot more parts a lot faster. So thank you for joining, and I shall see you next time to finally get that swimmer away from his predicament in the middle of the lake. See you next time.